Welcome to School of Prop. I'm Preston Swan, and we're talking about Proposition 305, the expansion of Empowerment Scholarship Accounts referendum. If passed, Prop 305 will expand the Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA program, to all Arizona K-12 students. Prop 305 is a veto referendum, which means the state passed a law, but so many citizens organized and rebelled that it is now a proposition. These are pretty rare. There's only been 6 in Arizona since the 1970s. And on top of that, it's been all over the news. The Red for Ed movement, strikes, protests, all of this to answer the question, can public funds be used to pay for private education? Let's find out. An Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA, is basically a checking account set up by the state for parents to pay for their child's education. ESAs were originally created in 2011 to support public school students with learning disabilities. A public school might not have the staff or services a student with learning disabilities needs, so the state sets aside public money for those students in the form of ESAs. In return, those ESA students essentially opt out of public school in Arizona, so their education is on them. Families who qualify for ESAs can use those funds to pay for a range of educational services like books or tutoring or tuition. At the end of each quarter, parents have to submit receipts on all purchases to the Department of Education. Now, ESAs were initially a hit, so they were expanded several more times to include children with an active duty military parent, children from foster care, children from failing public schools, and more. Prop 305 would expand ESA access to all of Arizona's 1.1 million public school students. Okay, so it isn't really all Arizona students. It is open to everyone, but not everyone can get in because there's a cap to enrollment. Every year until 2023, the annual cap for new ESAs will increase until it hits roughly 30,000 students. I'll be honest on this section, it was a little hard for me. Getting straight numbers took digging from conflicting sources with their own metrics or agendas, so frankly, I might have missed some information. To hedge my bets a little bit, these numbers are a pretty moderate assessment. Now, in general, public education in Arizona costs about $8,700 per student. That amount comes from a mix of 3 sources: local, state, and federal. For every $1 spent on public education, 38% comes from local taxes, 49% comes from the state, and 13% comes from federal funds. ESAs are funded from Arizona's general fund, you know, that 49% bucket, so they don't use federal or local funds. When a student enrolls in an ESA program, they are essentially opting out of public school. So the state gives the money that they would have spent on public education, and we let them spend it how they see fit. Now, how much goes into an ESA depends on where the student's coming from in the first place. If a student was in a public school, they will receive about $4,300. If they were a charter school student, they will receive about $6,300. Special needs students can still receive upwards of $7,000 on top of all of that. Supporters of Prop 305 say that this gives Arizona families the choice they deserve when it comes to their child's education. Every child deserves a quality education, and if their public school is underperforming or not meeting the needs of their student, they should be allowed to use their share of public funds to pay for whatever education they choose. Now, opponents of Prop 305 say that this will undermine an already underfunded public education system in Arizona by diverting much-needed tax funds from the state to private schools. For example, an ESA might divert $5,000 of state funds from a public school, but that public school will also lose out on some of the matching federal and local funds. In addition, some opponents are concerned about the state's lack of oversight over curriculum or quality for these non-public schools, and still others say the Department of Education won't be able to effectively review all the new ESA receipts, opening up the system to fraud and abuse. I strongly encourage you to go read some opposing viewpoints on this one because it's a doozy. Education in Arizona is always a hot-button issue. On the one hand, Arizona consistently ranks near the bottom of states in public education funding. And yet, we are also one of the most progressive states in terms of providing school choice options. But is Prop 305 one choice too far, or the right choice for the right time? It's up to you. From School of Prop, I'm Preston Swan, and this election day, it's your vote.